It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as a huge New Japan name is heading to AEW All Out. Will Ospreay name drops Jon Moxley on his return to New Japan, and CM Punk hints at a match with Darby Allin. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first... This weekend, PWG tweeted out a number of matches for their upcoming Free Mendes 6 event, which will see recently released NXT names compete, as well as several Ring of Honor and AEW stars. Jake Atlas and Alex Zane, who were released from WWE on August 6th, will compete in a 6-man tag as Zane teams with independent wrestler Jack Cartwheel and AEW's Dante Martin. They will take on Jake Atlas and his partners Trey Miguel, who is of course a part of Impact Wrestling, as well as MLW's Myron Reed. AEW's Malachi Black will team with Ring of Honor's Brody King to take on Flamito and Black Taurus following a brawl at PWG's most recent event. The PWG World Championship will be on the line as well, as the champion Bandido, who is also the Ring of Honor World Champion, will defend his PWG strap against Davey Richards, who himself is a former World Champion of Ring of Honor and is currently signed to MLW. The Independent Super Show will also see names like Dragon Lee, Laredo Kid, Ray Horace, Alex Shelley, and Jonathan Gresham all compete across the night, with the full card listed on screen right now. Free Mendes 6 is set to be held on September 26th at the Globe Theatre in Los Angeles. Next, let's take a look at this weekend's TRIPLEMANIA event, where a new AAA Reina del Reinas champion was crowned. On the show, there was a champion versus champion match, with Fabi Apache defending her AAA belt against the Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo, with both belts on the line. In the end, the Impact Wrestling star managed to come out on top, crowning herself the Reina del Reinas, or the Queen of Queens. This is Deonna's second major women's title since leaving WWE in April 2020, having won the Impact Knockouts title twice since then, despite being told by Creative that she's not ready for television. It seems she may have proven her doubters wrong. Later in the night, AEW World Champion Kenny Omega defended his AAA Mega Championship against fellow AEW wrestler Andrade El Idolo. This followed Omega's loss to Christian Cage the night before on the premiere episode of AEW Rampage, losing his Impact World title and reducing his belt collection to just 2. The dream match with Andrade received a boost as, to the surprise of everyone, Ric Flair, who is of course Andrade's father-in-law, accompanied him to ringside. This is Flair's first appearance in AAA, and his first appearance anywhere since his WWE release earlier this month. Despite an assist from the Nature Boy, Kenny Omega managed to retain his title and put Andrade away with a one-winged angel to hold on to his AAA belt. Despite many expecting Omega to lose, he managed to make his 5th title defense since winning it last May. It has also been reported by the Wrestling Observer that the original plan was indeed for Andrade to walk away as the new champion on his AAA debut, but it seems that plans were changed. This Friday, Impact Wrestling will air their Emergence event, which will see Impact World Champion Christian Cage defend his newly won title against Brian Myers, who won a recent #1 Contenders Battle Royal. It's highly likely that Christian will retain unless Myers can pull off an upset, and it has now been revealed that whoever does walk away as champion will defend their title against the winner of a fatal 4-way match earlier that night, with another #1 contender set to be named. A match between Moose, Chris Sabin, Sami Callihan, and Ace Austin will decide the challenger for Impact's top prize, earning their shot at the upcoming Victory Road event in September. The 4-way sees 3 former Impact World Champions, with Ace Austin being the only one never to have held the title in the past, although he is a 2-time X Division champ. We're just days away from WWE SummerSlam 2021, and one of the event's title matches is currently up in the air. WWE SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair is currently scheduled to defend her title against Sasha Banks in a WrestleMania 37 rematch. However, on a recent WWE Live event in Charlotte, North Carolina, it was announced that both competitors were absent due to unforeseen circumstances. This was echoed the next night in Columbia, South Carolina. According to a report from PW Insider, several sources inside the company have expressed concern that the Belair Banks match will not take place at SummerSlam this weekend. Nothing has been officially confirmed as of yet, and no reason has been given for their absence at the two house shows. We will likely find out on Friday Night SmackDown if the match has been called off, depending on if they show up. This past Saturday, New Japan held their Resurgence event from Los Angeles, California, where a brand new IWGP United States champion was crowned. In the show's main event, AEW's Lance Archer defended his title against New Japan legend Hiroshi Tanahashi, with the Ace coming out on top. Tanahashi is now the 7th man to hold the title in its history, and he's become the first Japanese wrestler to hold it. This means he has now won the IWGP Heavyweight, Intercontinental, Never Openweight, and the United States title during his career in New Japan. It seems Tanahashi's first challenger is set to be another AEW star, as former US champ Jon Moxley was at ringside for the bout, showing a keen interest. Not only this, but Moxley also called out Tanahashi on a recent episode of Dynamite. This follows a recent report from the Wrestling Observer that the two are set to clash at AEW All Out in September, and this title victory means that the United States Championship will probably be on the line. Earlier in the night, another match for Moxley was teased after he was name-dropped by the returning Will Ospreay. Ospreay made his New Japan return, declaring himself the real IWGP World Champion after he was forced to vacate the title following an injury in May at Wrestling Dontaku Night 2 after his successful defense against now champion Shingo Takagi. The Brit stated that he was never pinned or submitted and therefore is the rightful IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, before revealing an IWGP World title belt. Ospreay then declared himself medically cleared, but said he will not be taking part in this year's G1 Climax tournament, and is also refusing to work the main New Japan shows in Japan. Instead, he will defend his version of the belt on their American brand New Japan Strong. He then called out New Japan management for their hypocrisy, pointing out that former IWGP United States champion Jon Moxley was allowed to keep his title despite not defending it for months. This seems to plant the seeds for a future match between the two, whether that be on New Japan Strong or AEW television, as no doubt Moxley will not take kindly to Ospreay speaking his name, and he's known to hold a grudge. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you scroll down and drop a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head towards 20,000 subscribers. But now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. And finally, let's take a look at the recent hints from CM Punk and those around him ahead of his reported debut this Friday on AEW Rampage. The first hint came earlier this weekend as Punk reminisced on Instagram about his final event for Ring of Honor entitled Punk The Final Chapter. The show was main evented by CM Punk vs Colt Cabana in a 2 out of 3 falls match, with Punk doing the job on his way out of the company before heading to WWE's developmental territory OVW. In the post, Punk hinted that whilst it was named The Final Chapter, nothing's over till you're underground, and said, "This was 16 years ago today. Called the show The Final Chapter because I'm a huge Friday 13th guy. Cannot remember if this was the 13th or not. Today is. Pretty cool. Also, Final Chapter because, well, that was it for that guy. Was sure I'd be an astronaut or maybe a cowboy or something. Chapters close, books end. Nothing's over till you're underground." Not only is this a hint that Punk will be back in the game, but nothing's over till you're underground is what Darby Allin has tattooed on his chest. Darby is Punk's rumoured first opponent when he returns to wrestling, after he recently declared himself for this Friday's Chicago show, calling out the best in the world, the former nickname of CM Punk in WWE. And next, whilst this isn't from someone with inside knowledge, Punk was also referenced on the NFL Network during a Chicago Bears and Miami Dolphins preseason game, where rookie quarterback Justin Fields, who was drafted to the Bears in the 2021 draft, was described as the most anticipated debut in Chicago until Friday when, presumably, CM Punk shows up on AEW. It seems that the commentator is a wrestling fan, and the hype for Punk's arrival is going mainstream. The final reference came from CM Punk's commentary gig for the CFFC MMA promotion, who air their events on the UFC Fight Pass. On their Saturday Thursday night event CFFC 99, Punk made an AEW reference during the Lucas Hoffman vs Harvey Mardis fight. Hoffman was showing capable wrestling ability throughout the fight, which led to commentator John Morgan saying, "Like in the first round, Hoffman is just returning to his wrestling. You know what I'm saying, Punk? Returning to his wrestling." Before Punk quickly responded, "Yeah, he's looking all elite right now." The pace of the fight then quickly picked up, with Morgan adding, "Inside jokes are being thrown all over the place," and then Punk said, "Gotta watch out for those inside jokes." It seems like Punk is having some fun with the hype right now, and the CFFC joke and mostly the Instagram post are even more confirmation that CM Punk is all elite. I expect that there's going to be a few more teases throughout the week, so stay tuned to the channel as we head into one of the most exciting weeks in recent wrestling history. And before you go, why not check out my video where I discuss 5 ways that AEW could book the debut of CM Punk.